Meet me. This is Leo Arthur. I must say that having a disloyal spouse can be an extremely unfortunate and difficult situation to face. Infidelity can indeed cause a great deal of emotional pain and trauma for the betrayed spouse. When she deceived, my feelings of her anger and betrayal was just overwhelming and literally took a long time to process and heal me. Overall, having a disloyal spouse can be an incredibly unlucky and difficult situation to face. But before getting into the video, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out any of our new uploads. Thank you for choosing to be the part of our community, and we look forward to be connecting with you. Well, tracing back to the year 2017 when I got married, Amy, to be honest, I had always thought I had a great life. I had a successful career, a beautiful home and a loving wife. Also, I thought even the initial days of our married life was really good. Like I remember that she used to be a very beautiful and responsible wife. In 2019, we are blessed with a baby girl as well. And then in 2020 we blessed again with a baby girl. Life was going good. But things started slightly changing in the last of 2022 when my wife joined her best friend, husband named John office as receptionist. I remember my wife used to come home very late, and whenever I used to ask her that where she was, her answer was always the name that she would stay in work or with her best friend. Like even she stopped joining us in the weekends and started ignoring our kids. I had not ever came to know about it that my wife's boss was her best husband. I realized it one day when I came home early from work to surprise my wife. I was shocked to find her in bed with another man. I was just heartbroken. I confronted my wife demanding to know who the man was. My wife was visibly uncomfortable and hesitant to answer, but eventually admitted that the man was her best friend's husband and was also her boss at work. I was disgusted by the betrayal and couldn't believe that my wife would do something so cruel to both him and her best friend. As I tried to come to terms with what had happened, my wife tried to apologize and make things right. She promised to end things with her lover and begged me to forgive her. However, the damage had been done and I found it hard to trust her again. Things went from bad to worse when my wife's best friend, who had sensed something was old, approached me with evidence of the affair. It was a heartbreaking moment for me, as I realized that my wife was speaking a lie with me. That was the time when I realized that I had to make a tough decision. I couldn't continue with a marriage built on lies in the city. I filed for divorce and moved out of the house, hoping to start over and find someone who truly loved and respected him. But memories of my 2 kids were making me restless day by day. One day when I reached to my office, my wife was already sitting in my office's room and was waiting for me. At first, I totally ignored her. But later, I remember how she hugged me from the backside. She apologized to me, but I was not ready to accept her again. At the same night when I was just about to sleep, I received a voice note from my wife where my elder daughter was crying and calling me daddy. That time, my feet froze and I started trembling. It seemed like that voice note pulled the fire on my heart. I started blubbering because it had been about 2 weeks since I didn't talk to my family. I started to move to my family the very next. Although I was not ready to accept her, I thought that my reconciliation with my wife was a very necessary thing, that I really did not want to spoil my family. In simple terms, it was impossible for me to live without my family. When I reached the house, my wife was standing at the entry with 2 of our kids. She was so embarrassed at that time that she was literally not able to face me. She was looking down when she greeted me. I remember my daughter had no place of excitement and happiness. That time they were literally dancing when they found me in front of them. Well, as soon as I entered the house, I hugged them both. I was just about to hug my wife. Then when she did to me, 2 weeks back appeared in my mind. I just ignored her. Then I remembered that she seemed to be very active and responsible, just like she used to be before she prepared delicious food for me as well. She was trying her best to make me conquer her heart again. I remembered how she held my hand when she was eating lunch and then promised that she would never contact her boss again. Who was her best friend's husband? I did not say anything to her as I really did not want to repeat this. I held her hand back and kissed her on her forehead. I thought that my wife became happy again. Even my wife decided to quit her job and opted for a housewife. I remember our life became really good again, like we used to have a lot of romance and fun. On the weekends our physical relationship became good and satisfied again. We started giving time to each other. We started again living happily in a cozy little house in a quiet neighborhood. We were living a peaceful and great life until my wife's cousin from Washington arrived one summer. My wife's cousin, David, came to visit us from out of town. David was a tall, handsome man with a charming personality, and my wife was excited to have him stay with them for a few weeks. I obviously did nothing wrong about my wife. As soon as David arrived, my wife couldn't help but notice how much he had changed since they last saw each other. He had grown into a confident and attractive man, and my wife found herself drawn to him in a way that she had never experienced before. At first, my wife was trying to ignore her feelings for David. But as they spent more time together, she found herself falling deeper in love with him. She knew that it was wrong to have those feelings for her cousin, but she couldn't help herself. As the weeks went by, Emily found herself spending more and more time with David. They would go for long walks together, have deep conversations late into the night, and share intimate moments that made her feel alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. I had not ever thought of what was actually going on in her mind. Meanwhile, I was completely unaware of my wife's feeling for David. I trusted her completely and assumed that her cousin's visit was nothing more than a harmless family visit. However, as my wife's feeling for David continued to grow, she became more and more distant from me. She started sharing things with me and started spending all of her time with David. Instead, one day when I came home from work early and found my wife and David in a compromising position, I was devastated and heartbroken, and he confronted my wife about her feelings for David. I remember her response like I remember how she created panic and cried a lot. She just began to yell loudly and said that I shouldn't beat her. She was not behaving like a normal woman. She was trying to show her cousin that I do beat her. I remember the situation was just out of my control. My wife's attitude was beyond my understanding. First of all, she did wrong to me by sharing her bed with her cousin. But instead of feeling ashamed, she manipulated and began to blame on me that I was about to harm. Well, on seeing her in this condition, I was just about to go close to her when she began to run in hustle-bustle. She fell down and got motor injury. After seeing that injury, her cousin began to blame me that I harmed her. Unfortunately, that time camera was even not installed in our house. I remember as soon as my wife got wounds, her cousin took him outside. Everything just happened continuously popping up in my mind, and I was in a great shock. I really did not know what to do next. Like I was confused whether my wife was really sharing her bed with her cousin or not. Meanwhile, the doorbell rang. I hurriedly stood up and ran away to the door in order to meet my wife and was shocked to see police outside. The policeman was gazing at me fly with his bolting eyes. He arrested me at the moment on the charge that I was doing physical violence with my wife. I was just shocked, like seriously, on reaching the jail. I was just helpless and depressed when one of my neighbor's friend came to meet me and told me that will definitely shock you. He told me that whenever I used to be at work, he had often caught my wife in an inappropriate condition with her cousin from the window. He told me to install a camera in my house and said that my wife and cousin must be planning to occupy everything. But obviously, that was not easy to digest, but I got more goosebumps when he showed me his Snapchat account where my wife used to send him messages regularly. That moment, I literally got a minor heart attack. I remember once it was a Saturday night when I noticed something really strange. Finally, after 3 days, when I came back to my house from jail, my small kids were afraid of me. They were responding to me like I was a criminal while I took some courage and didn't give my wife a single clue that I am aware of her actions while I succeeded in installing a camera secretly and steadily. I just wanted to capture their video together and wanted to prove myself in front of the police who put me in the jail without listening to me. I pretended so normal in front of my wife that I even apologized. Even I greeted her cousin who was perplexed by my unexpected and awkward response. It was a Saturday night and about 2 a.m. of the night when I got my eyes open and found my wife nowhere in the bedroom. I was damn sure that she must be with her cousin while I secretly stood up and went to her cousin's room where I succeeded in hearing the conversation about how they would hack my ATM PIN number and other passwords. They actually wanted me to stay in jail so that they may be considered innocent in front of the police in spite of occupying everything, and they also want custody of the kids. They were just planning their lives when I appeared in front of time. This time, she again created the same trauma and hurriedly went to the police station. This time, police was even more furious to arrest me. I took some minutes from police and showed them the whole video with how my wife created drama and used to show her fake wounds by my installed camera. Their conversation of hacking my ATM PIN code and passwords were also captured after hearing and watching the video. The police was just shocked. Instead of arresting me, they arrested both of them at the moment. My father decided to marry the very next day since my wife went to jail. I got married to one of my coworkers named Jennifer, who's really a wife material. When I got investigated, my wife's cousin who came to stay at our house. I came to know that he had a girlfriend too. She was just cheating on my wife just in order to get money from her girlfriend. I even gave my wife a chance when I caught her with her boss, but still she did this. She really ruined her life. My daughters are attached